Alright, here is a video review for Magic Square Pillage and Contain. I believe drag strip is Pillage and Contain is Dead End. At least that's what I've seen online. If that's wrong, I apologize, but I'm pretty sure most places I've seen have Pillage listed, shown as drag. Actually, every place I've seen has Pillage as drag strip and Contain as Dead End, which kind of makes a little bit of sense. Pillage to drag strip makes a little less sense than Contain to Dead End. Anyway. Been waiting for a while, and they finally came in stock, and here they are. We're going to do something a little different. We're going to go from robot to vehicle to limbs, because that's the easiest way to show everything off. But as small robots, they're actually pretty cool, and they're the same Legends class figures. Contain has these little panels that are his spoiler in vehicle mode, and I wasn't sure what at first. It looks like I thought maybe they were covers for his hands in limb mode. And you can hide them anyway because they can't stay on. They'd have to plug in here in robot mode, and you might be able to get them in there, but you still have to take them off for transformation. I've been storing them in these little slots here, but they can hide in just about any slot. You can put them on his forearms. At one point, I thought maybe you'd use them to cover the tire here, but they don't cover the whole way. But you could put them here on the front. I'll show you this little spoiler piece. I'm just storing them right in there, but I guess it would be over here. At one point, I had them right there, kind of covering up the wheel a little bit with some detail there. You can't really hide them on the arms because of they will fit in here, but they stick out. They don't go along the side of the arm, which would have been nice if they could have done that. So I'm not entirely sure where exactly these are supposed to store in robot mode because they don't even mention them in the instructions. They're just kind of there. Actually, you know what? He's been having trouble standing. I wonder if I could slot it in here in the heel. Nope, doesn't look like it's going to fit in the heel. That's a shame. All the other places I can slot these things, and right there on the heel to make them stand a little easier would be the best place for it. But so yeah, I just go to store them. Here inside on the side panels of the legs is where I've been keeping them. You can do whatever you want with them. And honestly, I think his vehicle mode looks fine without the spoiler, but if you want to keep track of those parts, you can. But like I said, he's a little wobbly standing, but he's got a ball joint at the head, dual hinge shoulders, bicep swivel, which is a little rough. Like I don't want to risk twisting it off. It's a little tight. A hinge elbow. Does have a wrist swivel there where the gun is. Waist swivel, ball joint hips, thigh swivel, hinge knee, and then a ball joint there at the ankle. All right, come on. Stay with me here. And then same thing with Pillage. You can move his tires around. You can fold them flat like that. You can stick them straight up. They're on a hinge there, ball joint head so you can look around, dual hinge shoulders, bicep swivel, hinge elbow. Does have a wrist swivel. It's a little blocked by the panel here. It flips around for alt mode, so the piece is kind of blocking a little bit, but you get a pretty decent range of motion there in the wrist. Waist swivel, ball joint hip, thigh swivel, hinge knee, and then he's got some little toe action. The wheel can move a little bit here as well to support him in robot mode. But yeah, there they are in their robot modes, as you would expect. They're a little tricky. Drag strip's a little bit more straightforward, although they both have a couple tricky bits to get them into vehicle mode. Now, they also come with these little panels, which we'll see do a couple different things in combined mode, but don't do anything in vehicle mode. So go ahead and take their small weapons and put them off to the side. And I guess we'll do Contain first. So you open up this panel right here, untab the, you can see it's tabbed into the arms here, and then the arms kind of collapse up next to the head. Very similar to Breakdown and Wild Rider there, but fold those up like that. And this comes up here over the head. You don't want to lock that all the way into place. That will tab in there. You don't want to lock that all the way into place because you're still going to need some free room over to move the arms a little bit. But then the legs, this is where it gets a little tricky. You want to take off the spoiler pieces. This is not as straightforward as the others. And you got to pull this side piece out. And then this window piece back here lifts up and on pegs. And then this whole piece, you lift this up, this piece flips around. After you've gotten this up, you got to fold the foot down flat. Bring this up. This piece comes around once you've got it hinged up. And you got to get it all the way. You got to get it all the way up to get this around. You can see where I'm going with this. Oh, this has to come up. Oh, this comes down. Yeah, moves around. Got to come around that window so you can get this all the way up. But then you also got to get it around this hand. And then you can bring this down, fold this in and around. This can come up. You don't want to. And the thing is, even with this pulled out, you got to kind of force this tab in, because this piece right here doesn't flip around to tab this piece in. You got to get this piece in and really manhandle it in a very frustrating way, unless there's just something super easy I'm missing that I haven't caught yet. Because this piece does come out from the post, but not enough. And getting that, this is actually the worst it's been. But yeah, you gotta squeeze that around, and then bring the bumper up, and then keep it over that hand, and then we'll get to smushing it together here in a minute. Go ahead. Now you can go ahead and push this, push that hood down, and then same thing over here. Lift this up and tab it from. Pull the side piece out. There we go, and that will untab this. Get this up and around. Flip this up, but over the window, and around like that. Bring the foot up, and then bring this wheel piece around. Get this over the hand. Flip this around. Get this inside here. Again, doesn't really want to. There we go. And over the hand, and then you got to get these around the hand and pull the bumper out and up. So you want this to peg together, the legs to peg together, but then you also have to push it up over these tabs, and pushing them up over these tabs while also going over the hands wants to bend them at the ball joint at the ankle. So it's hard to get a really clean vehicle mode here for dead end. And I've had it looking better than this. It is possible, but you really gotta fight it. And unless there's just something, I mean, it's possible there's a quality control issue that's keeping mine from going together properly, because it seems like the waist just doesn't want to go in right. And I've had this sit better than it is right now, but like I said, it's a nice looking car mode if it wasn't for the little divot here, and I've had it sitting a little nicer than that, but it's kind of a pain. And then if you want the spoiler on, you just take this and put it maybe backwards. Peg this into the window here, and then you can have them with a spoiler. And like I said, it is possible to get this more flush and smoother, but alas, I'm not going to fight it too hard for this, since we're just going to be pulling it apart here in a minute anyway. Pillage also has some frustrating bits, but not nearly as bad as this. There we go. Anyway, so straighten up his wheels here. Obviously the front end of the car flips up and pegs in. There's a small little peg. The wheels, you do slot in here, but you want to make sure you come from the underside. You got to squish the arms in like that. Before you do that though, rotate them around here so that slot goes to the inside, because that's what's going to tab on right here. And then rotate the hands around. They'll only rotate all the way around one way, but so they fill in that panel fills in that gap. And then you can collapse the arm and smush them up like that. And you can collapse the arms in onto those pegs, and then the wheels will peg in, or I guess a tab in into those slots there on the front end. And there's most of the front end done. Easy. Rotate them around at the waist, and then bring these panels right here, rotate around to form the engine block. And then you want to collapse the legs, but you got to flip this engine piece out, because the instructions show you to collapse the legs up and flip the engine piece in. You can see there's a couple tabs here on the side of this block that tab into here, but these slots on top are too thin. The slot underneath is thicker. They kind of got a ridge, so you have to bring that down, collapse the leg up, and then it helps if you get the wheel out of the way here. Flip the wheel up like this. The wheel hinges up and around like this. And get this up out of the way here. but you have to kind of hook it in like this and then come at this at the side so it tabs in underneath. Now it's looking like it's flush with the top. So maybe there was just some flash there that wasn't working, but like getting this to transform at first, you can't just plug this in from the top. You got to come at it from the side. Even here, this thing's still not going all the way in. Come on. There we go. Still less frustration than contain. And then these panels just flip up and form the spoiler. And there you have the car. They both roll pretty well. And they're vehicles. Like I said, I wish I've had this looking better than this, and I don't know why this is being such a pain now. But yeah, it's where you have to put pressure to push this in. It wants to make them fold in at the hip. Oh, see, that side now is a little better. It's a little better, and then it just pops right apart again. I don't know. I don't know if I'm missing something, if there's something twisted wrong in here. I'm following the instructions, but whatever. Anyway. Now they're in vehicle mode, we can combine them to the main body of Menasor. And there's several different ways to do that, and I'll show some of them. I'm not going to show every single configuration of Menasor because there's like all sorts of different ways you could do it, depending on how you configure the limbs, the legs, and everything. But when last we saw Menasor, here is the first three, Motormaster and Breakdown and Wild Rider combined. And really, all you're looking at here is the trailer, because Breakdown and Wild Rider and Motormaster are all just plugged into the back. He's plugged into a hollow space. You can take him out and not affect the look of this, and you can't really see them in the back, there on the back of the legs. So, yeah, this is pretty much the trailer here. But there's several different ways to attach the cars. One is to just slap them on the arms. You can take him. There's a little vertical slot here and a horizontal slot here that plugs in this little posable flap here. You just plug it in. Get it lined up here. And then posable on the flap. There's another piece, don't worry. And then this thing right here, same horizontal bars. Just get him, flip him up, this up. Plug them on. Like that, and then they each come with a panel. And Dead End uses the one that has the tabs vertically, or I guess horizontal this way if you're holding it, but in the same path as the longer piece, whereas Dragstrip has them perpendicular to the longer piece here. And you just take these, and they've got some slots on the back, and plug them in to the arm. I think it's this way, actually. Like that. Just a little panel to fill in the forearm here. I'm not doing this right. Maybe I'm doing it upside down. I am. There we go. Because I think it goes the other way when when it actually is the actual forearm. But yeah, I'll take this in. Just peg these on. And you got a little bit of a forearm filler, and there is one version of just straight up car arm Menasor. You don't want to do that. You can take these off. You can actually split the cars in half. You're going to do basically the same thing, except you're only going to put half the car up here and half the car directly onto those posts. Now for Dead End, you gotta pop this up and bring the legs down. But you basically just twist them at the waist. They've got one of those little crosshatch keys. So just separate them up, collapse that back together. And then again, the two vertical tabs, you just tab right on, tab into here. And then you use the same tabs up here as you did for the previous mode. You just tab that on. And so now he's got the car, but he's using his natural forearms. And I guess he was always using the natural forearms, but you don't need this, or the elbow. You don't need this panel. This can go off to the side. And same with Pillage here. Just again, get him. You got to untab the legs and flip the engine back up, and then just twist it and untab it. And the instructions even say to take the, collapse it down, take this and to fold it like that. I think it works either way. You don't have to fold that down, but it says to fold it so that tab's facing that way. And it does fit right in here. Although it does, see that, but now I thought there was a reason I wasn't doing that. Maybe did I just not have it? Nope, see. Yeah, it says to do that, but it actually fits better like this. Anyway. Because otherwise that panel is interfering with the elbow. Whatever. There's a couple different things on drag strip that you have to, it only really comes together once you hook it in. And then the same thing up here, just put the same pegs in. And personally, sorry Ian, but this is my personal preference for how I display Menasor. Now the feet, I do have the square toes on the back, so I don't have to swap any parts off. But if you want to see all the cars, even though you're seeing the wrong part of Breakdown a Wild Rider from the G1 one, you can just take this and just, again, especially if you already have, I like these as heels to keep them balanced. But you can just rotate them around at the knees. And there's a more G1 toy-esque looking Menasor where you see all the robots with the exception of Motormaster. You can also, in this mode, if you have the arms attached like this, you can take these panels. Again, there's an alternate head, there's an alternate chest piece. If you want, but these side arm panels, you open them up like this, flip this panel up like this, and flip it around like that. And same with this panel over here. Open up the silvery painted panel. It's just friction pegged in. It likes to pop off. But open that up. Open up this panel. And this panel on mine doesn't want to stay horizontal as I flip it through all the way. Sometimes you got to get in there and push it down. But then these two panels, you can actually, there's a little tab back here that you can tab in up here if you want more of the old school side shoulders. Come on. There we go. And yeah. Drag strip sometimes does not like to stay pegged in. And it's really easy with the extended front end of the vehicle. It's really easy to grab it in a way where the leverage just pops it right off these pegs. There we go. So if you want to do it like that, you can do it like that. You can also turn the cars into where like they're the entire arm, and that involves more parts forming. Part of the reason I like using the half and half is because I like the way it looks, but it also uses everything in a way like without the extra parts, and you can have these up here on the shoulders, because that's the only way you can have these up on the shoulders. Otherwise, they're going to be part of the arms. Because in order to do this, we got to take these out off of there. Come on, and then snap all that back together here. So for the combined arms, you got to pop this whole arm assembly off up here of Menasor. Throw Wild Rider to the curb. It's actually pretty secure and stable when you're not actively trying to wrestle it on camera. But, back here. Like just posing and displaying, it's fine. And then you want to take the hand, you have to take off, slide out of here. This piece is just going to go off to the side. These arm pieces don't do anything. Pop the hands out on that tab. And then these turn back into their flat form. And you know what? I'm going to wait. I think this will go in here. So we'll take the sword hand, slap it in, tab it in there, and then tab. Eventually we're going to tab it on as the forearm to the lower half of dead end. But in order to do that, we've got to reattach it. Got to open this all back up again. So you reattach the lower half. But then there's a hinge inside the body. You can see it right here. You want to bring this whole assembly untab it, hinge it out, and then this, not at the square pin, but at the pin just below it, this whole piece rotates around that pin, and then you can put this all back together. And you can see now that he's got a swivel there. You don't want to swivel it here because that will unlock it, but it's a swivel there as well as the elbow hinge. So you've essentially got the arm like that, and then this pegs in. This peg goes into the slot here on this hinge, and then the other two pegs go in where they were before. So you peg that on as the upper arm, and then you can take this, and this is where we take those two pegs, and peg it into the bottom of the vehicle. Get it lined up right. And we're going to do the same process here for drag strip. Although drag strip does have one caveat that dead end doesn't, and that's because when you pull his hinge out, when you bring this out and down and around, it doesn't lock in the same way that dead ends does. Like when you here's the elbow hinge right here. This likes to droop, and at first I was worried about it, that it was going to be too heavy to support itself. But that's okay, because when you peg it into the arm, the peg on this goes into this slot and basically locks that in place. So even if it's droopy here, you just got to make sure that that peg goes into that slot and then up here. And that's going to lock that in place. So see, now it's not drooping. The weight of the hand and the gun might droop this joint a little bit, but the whole thing isn't falling out of the body of the arm. You can see there's some bicep swivel there as well. That said, it is just a couple of little pegs holding this thing up to the upper arm, so it's a little less secure as an arm connection this way. And then again, we'll take the make sure I'm doing this the right way, because you want to make sure this goes in a way so the hand's facing the correct direction, so these tabs are facing the interior of the arm. And there you go. And there is that combination if you just want to use them as arms, which also doesn't look bad. Like I like the look of the separated cars on the arms, and I do like the idea of the cars being most of the arm, but it's the elbow joints are not quite as solid and stiff as the ones from the installed arms. Also, now you've got these extra pieces just sitting around, and so you have to reattach them to control transform the trailer. Whereas even if you just separate them as the arms on these pieces, you don't need to bring in any extra pieces or take any pieces off or have any pieces sitting aside to transform everything back into robots and vehicles. So it's a personal preference. I think I like the split cars on these arms, but you can use them as mostly the arm piece there. But yeah, I think either in any way, it's a very nice display piece for Menasor that doesn't take up a whole lot of space. There are some really nice looking large Menasors, like the Transformation one was really cool. Even the I liked the Fans Project one. Was it Fans Project? Yeah, and it was Make Toys that Menasor or did Defensor. So yeah, the Fans Project Stunicons were fun. But all in all, it's a nice display Menasor. I'm glad I went in on it. I don't know. Overall, I'm trying to debate how I'm coming up with my opinion kind of on the fly. Like I've had him sitting on my dresser all combined for a couple of days now, and I really enjoy looking at him. It's a very nice display piece. It's not, especially dead end, is not a lot of fun to transform. And same with the Motormaster's trailer. It can be a little bit of a hassle to fold all the panels around. But it's not as frustrating as the Fans Project version. And overall, I think you get a much more traditional Menasor-looking robot. And and unlike some of the other ones, you've got a lot of different options for how to display them. If you don't prefer this, there's 5 or 6 other ways. Because there is I didn't even swap out all the pieces I could have swapped out, because there's an alternate that I've showed off. But there's an alternate chest plate that looks more like the old G1 toy with the car up there. There's some alternate thigh pieces here. There's an alternate waist piece. There's an alternate, let me assemble it here. Yeah, you can give them an alternate head. So on top of all the various configurations for the limbs. So you've got a lot, like I said, there's these feet, and if you turn them around, those square toes, you can set it up so those square toes are attached to the front in this configuration. So you've got a lot of different mod options for how to put it in. And like I said, we've already spent almost half an hour just showing off the arms themselves. I'm not going to get into all the various configurations, but maybe I'll do a video at some point that's just showing off the different configurations you can put them in, because I think that would take 10-15 minutes. Just even if I don't transform anything on camera, just going, here's one, spin around, here's another one, here's how it works, of all the various configurations you can do with this guy. So yeah, it's a nice set. I'm glad to finally have it here in the house. It will probably, aside from a few, maybe I'll try configuring it this way type fiddle with. I don't know that it's not a transformer that, or any of them are individual figures that I would carry with me for everyday transformation play. Maybe the core Motormaster bot. He's a lot of fun by himself. But as a nice little desk display piece for Menasor, with the options it gives you for display, it's pretty cool.